Morning, this is Dr. Aida, and we are going to change again the problem, the class salary, and we are going to try to do it using object-oriented approach. Okay. Now, the previous approach that we use has been a structured approach. Now, when we start doing object-oriented, that means we have to start thinking in objects. Okay. Objects are represented as class in Java. So this is the program that we have earlier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the class name to salary object. Okay, if I change the class name, then I must save as salary object.java. Okay, so as you can see, we have one class. The name of the class is salary object, and I have one main method here. So the first thing when if I want to change this code to the using object-oriented approach, I would like to get all the variables, okay, and change it into static variables. Now, static variables are variables that are declared at class level, because it is not, if you notice, it is inside the class, not within the main methods or any of the methods. And static variables are important because it is shared by all the objects that instantiated by this class. Okay, so basically it is accessible from objects that you create in other folders or in any other programs. Okay, so the second thing that is important about object-oriented approach is that we need the constructor. Now, constructor is a type of method, but without a return data type. Okay, basically the role of constructor is to initialize the object with either the default values or the values that given by the user. So, and constructor will have the same name as the class name, and it doesn't have any return data type. So I'm going to put the constructor here, salary object. Okay, this is a no argument constructor. No argument constructor means we are not, when we create the object, we are not going to send in any values. The user are not going to send in any values to initialize the value. So basically all the variables, static variables like hours, will be initialized by default values. So if it's double, it will be initialized as 0.0. And I have another one with argument constructors, salary object. Okay, with argument constructor has the same purpose to initialize the object, but it will get the value from the user. So what are the variables that we need to initialize really in this class? It is hours, because salary comes from after we calculate the hours, but really hours comes from the user. So hours, and the variable hours here, let me put H, the value will is supposed to go into the variable hours in our static variable. So if I put hours equals H, okay. Again, when we create an object, we have the compiler will send in the value given by the user when the user create the object, and this value will go into the class variable here. Okay, I also can use the same variable name, but if I do it like this, then it doesn't make sense, because it is of the same name, so the compiler couldn't tell which one which hours that we are referring to. So in order to solve this, Java has a keyword called this. This dot hours refers to hours and hours inside this class. Okay, so this hours refers to here. Okay, so basically we already have the static variables, and then we have the no argument constructor, we have the with argument constructor. So the simplest thing to do is I'm just going to get another method to do the calculation here. So I will remove from the main method. Public. This time this is a non-static method. So public void. I would say process. Okay. Process, and I'm not going to send it anything because really the process, the values come from here. So what will happen in process is the calculation of salary. Okay, salary already declared in here, hours already declared in here, rate is also declared in here. So if you notice that this is a one-way call, that means if we call this method from the main method, it is basically asking the object to process, to calculate the value salary depending on the variables that already updated here. Okay, it is not a local variable. Remember, these are class variables. That means all objects have the ability to write and rewrite the values. Okay, so basically next, this is very simple OO approach, and then we have the main method. Why we still need a main method? Because Java compiler only runs from the first line in the main method. So here I will remain this scanner. We need the scanner function because we are going to ask the user to enter the value. The variable hours here is local to the main method and it is not declared, so I'll just go ahead and declare that. Okay, now the most important part here, now we already have an object. Okay, we need to create an object from the class. We already have the class salary object. So remember, the same like scanner, we are going to create an object from salary object class, and I just put the name my salary, whatever, equals to new salary object, and I'm going to call the with argument constructor, which is this one, because I want to send in the values that I will enter later. Okay, so okay, so basically this line here, I am creating one object, the name is mine, from the salary object class by sending in the values of hours that I will input later. Okay, and next what will happen is when compiler execute this line, the compiler will get in the value for hours, okay, send into the with argument constructor, and you see the new value from the user will be updated in the class variable here. Okay, now the next one is how to access this method, because if nobody access this method, nobody invoke this method, then salary will never be calculated. Okay, so what I will do here, I will just call the method process. Okay, however, I cannot do like this because process I cannot do here because process is not a local method. It's not a local method, it is a class method. So I must tag it with the object, which is mine. So what will happen, this line here, the compiler will call a method called process from the mine object. Okay, so what will happen, it will go to here, and then basically it will calculate the value of salary equals to hours times rate. Hours already updated here, rate as well as rate already given here as well. Now the last line is that system.println the salary is salary. So what happened here is, previously we have the variable salary here, but this variable does not exist in the main method anymore. In order to access this variable, because this is a class variable already, we need to call the object as well. So it becomes mine dot salary. Okay, so again, basically I have a normal process to get the input from user. Then I create an object. Then I instantiate the object by sending in the values of hours that I just entered. And I will call a process to calculate the salary. And finally, I just get back the value salary, just display. Okay, now let's try that. Okay, you have been seeing this screen more and more. Okay, enter hours 102 hours. The salary is 102 ringgit or dollars. Okay, all right. Basically, that is the most basic thing that we must have, or we must do to use an object-oriented approach. The other thing is we can have the whole main method outside of the object class. This is called object class. So I'll just cut that out. Okay, save this, and I'm going to create a new one, and I will paste it here. I will make another class, public class. I will say salary main, open close bracket, and save it. Salary main. Is that correct? Okay. Alright, but I have scanner here. So let me take this out because we don't use scanner here. Save, go back to main. Okay. Now, what happened here? I'm just taking out the main method and put it in another class. Alright. So when I compile, it will give the same effect. 101. Yeah. Whatever. You can try that again. Okay. Now, what happened is, this is a good thing about object-oriented approach, because you can have a lot of different object classes. This is called main class. Why we call this file main class? Because there is a main method there. That means after you compile everything, when you want to execute, you must run or execute from this class. Okay, this is the main class because it has main method. This is called object class. Why? Because there is no main method. Basically, the purpose of object class is just to store all the class variables as well as all the methods. So if you remember a class diagram consists of title, data fields, and methods. Okay. So basically that's it. We will come back for more elaborated explanation on the object-oriented approach when we go to setter and getter next time in the next video. Alright, thank you. Bye.